Talk a little bit about what brings you out, and are there any policies up here, particular at the legislature, that you're keeping an eye on?
Yeah, so our organization has a long-standing involvement and interest in early childhood education and childcare more broadly. We were a key voice in the creation of the On My Way Pre-K program. We've been a stout supporter of childcare from 0 through school age. We just recognize how important childcare is to the appropriate functioning of our broader economy and society. Parents can't work, kids can't learn if they don't have safe places to go and healthy educational activities to do when they're there. And so we recognize the real interconnectedness between good family outcomes and things like early childhood education and childcare as being the building blocks of support for families in our community. From a policy perspective, we're really excited about what the governor has proposed in his budget. There would be enough money and money to spare to fully fund the Child Care Development Fund and On My Way Pre-K. So we would end the wait lists that had unfortunately been reinstituted late last year. We're very excited about Senate Bill 463, something that Senator Ed Charbonneau is authoring. He's been a real champion the last several years for this issue, someone who was an unlikely champion, but understands the interconnectedness between our state's economic future and the household futures all across our state. He knows how basic an infrastructure challenge it is to address and why it's so important. So his bill includes language that the governor has also championed, which is to create a new fund, a new funding source for local communities that want to be more proactive in addressing the child care shortages that they face and create more public-private partnerships. And the reality that we face, as we've heard today, many hands make light work, and we need all hands on deck for this effort.
You said a lot there that's so important to touch on, and one of the things I talk a little bit about is how early childhood development is focused on the children and their education and their upbringing, but it gets way beyond that, because these resources are returned to the community tenfold when someone's an adult and they don't need quite the services they did because they had the resources at birth. Talk a little bit about United Way touches on a lot of aspects of life, but this is important because the work you're doing with a child from birth to 3 affects so many of us further down the road.
That's correct. Some recent analysis that had been done by Indiana University showed a 4-to-1 return on investment. For every dollar that's spent, we see a $4 return on that investment, whether it's from increased economic activity, whether it is from reduced spending in social service needs, or incarceration, or those sorts of things, right? So those investments from an early age really do provide broader social benefits. It's not just the early development, the language development, the social emotional development that the kids experience. It really is about what it unlocks for the parents, the adults in that child's life, their ability to go back to school, to be in the workforce, to drive economic health for their household and for their community. So these kinds of investments are just critical for making everything else work in our society.
And I think it's so important that different organizations like Lakeshore Public Media, like the United Way, like First Things First, see how important this is, and like you said, pull in the same direction. Many hands make work easier.
That's right. And this is work that so many people are touched by, right? This is not just something like a small tax change or a really parochial interest like changing a licensing rule for operating a business. This really does get at the heart and soul of who we are as people. It gets to the heart and soul of who we are as families and as communities. And so it was a beautiful thing to see today. Advocates, parents, caregivers, child care providers, responsible corporate partners, the media, all coming together to really talk about, hey, this is an issue. This is maybe the dominant issue facing families today in Indiana. And here are some things that we can do to resolve it and make lives better for Hoosiers all over the state.
Thank you so much for your time. Very well said.
Thank you, Chuck.